you pregnant and alone? You have options. The Sanctuary of Hope offers expectant mothers ages 12 to 22 a place to live, medical care, counseling, continued education, and options to raise your baby in a loving environment or help you with adoption. We want to help provide you and your baby with a bright future. Call us or email us today and let's walk through this together. 210-499-1554 or sohcares.org. All inquiries are confidential.
The Dear Agency specializes in helping you understand your coverage before you need it. We offer all lines of personal and commercial insurance, including auto, home, and life. Contact Dawn Dear at 210-507-2169 and visit us at 7529 North Loop 1604 in Live Oak, Texas, or farmersagent.com/ddear.
You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again on Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m., The Answer. And man, we have a special guest today. His name is Chris Miller. I want to welcome to the show and say, how you doing, sir?
Hey, what's going on, Shamaya? How you doing, brother?
Man, we're doing good. So we're going to talk all about you today. And man, I had to pause because I almost just gave you like a plug on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. I'm on there too. So it's all family today, but I didn't want to spoil everything. You know what I'm saying? So before we get into the show that you do, tell the audience a little bit about Chris Miller, man.
Oh, well, I'm a small business owner here in town. Married man with a wife and a son. I mean, I'm just me, man. I'm a black conservative, so that's something, I guess, these days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 37. I'm from California originally, but I've lived here in Texas for most of my life. You know, I lived over in North Carolina for a little bit. I don't really talk about that stuff too much. But yeah, I mean, that's me, man. I'm a radio host now, and that happened oddly because of Barron. You remember Barron?
Oh yeah, shout out to him.
Yeah, we went to a BBL one day, and he was like, "Hey, man, I hear you talking about politics all the time. You ever thought about like coming on doing a podcast?" I was like, "No, not at all." Yeah, and then you were there. I came in, did a little video test or a radio test with you, and apparently it was all right.
What's cool is you have a story behind that. So tell us a little about your life, man, and also, you know, talk about your granddad too.
When I was born in LA, like I said, I moved to Texas to stay with my grandparents when I was like 4. You know, my mom got married when I was like 7. We moved to North Carolina. She got divorced and moved back to Texas. You know, and I finished high school in Texas, or in Georgetown, living with my grandparents. And, you know, my family's always been very close-knit, and we really take care of each other. My grandparents are the foundation and the glue. And they've really built an amazing lineage, in my honest opinion. You know, we're all these children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, we're all very well educated, and even though we do not all share the same views, you know, on a lot of issues, we all are still able to speak to one another and work together to explore those issues and come out with solutions, you know, through wisdom and discernment. We use this. And this is something that my grandparents always taught us, that we got to be able to talk it out. We have to be able to hash it out. And even if we don't agree, we have to be able to come together as a family to find the solution, because there is always a right solution, you know, no matter what. It may not be comprised of one right thing for one person, but it will come together and coalesce as a family, you know. And he's always been there as a very, my grandfather, he's always been there as a very supportive. Some say he spoiled me, but I mean that's subjective. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that he's been there for me through my ups and downs, and he's helped me to see the rights and the wrongs of the world. And he's been my coach, really. He's been the person that's been able to show me what I need to do as a black man in this country to succeed. And he's shown me how to show that to other people, not just black people, but everybody, because that's what he did. He worked in the EEOC, Equal Employment Office, you know, trying to be an activist for blacks and Hispanics in Austin, when, you know, as a Republican, when they weren't having it, they were not having any part of that, but he still helped them every day until he retired, you know. And that even pushed on through his through his latter years, he wrote 2 books. So one of his books is called Concepts of a Black Conservative, and that was his autobiography. But at the same time, it doubled as a guidebook to the escape of basically, the slave victimhood mentality and how to escape poverty. And he even has a chapter in there called The 3 E's of Escaping Poverty. I recommend everybody go out and get the book. It's called Concepts of a Black Conservative by Connie Miller Sr. Very good read. He also wrote a book called Frederick Douglass. There's a biography of Frederick Douglass called American Hero and International Icon. More stuff in there about Frederick Douglass than you would ever care to know, but they're really important things that most people don't know about him, and the things that would make him real integral in the fact that he did things that nobody ever expected him to do and told him he couldn't do. It's just crazy. But that was the major influence in my life and inspiration behind, reading about his life struggles as a Black conservative and his successes because of that choice. It's been an inspiration behind me and my radio show and the podcast, the Chris Miller Show, as you were going to allude to earlier. And it's become a charge of mine to try and awaken anyone that I can to the truth about what the Democratic Party does to minority populations and how the liberal left, they shape the mindset of so many downtrodden people to make them believe that they have always and will always be that way. And nothing could be further from the truth, because we haven't always been downtrodden. And everybody on this earth comes from a proud background, but we're constantly reminded of the ills and the wrongs where we can't. It makes it so we can't get up. And
if you're just now tuning in, this is I Am Refocused Radio, 9:30 a.m. The Answer. We're talking to Chris Miller. He has a website, chrismillershow.com. You want to check out what he's doing with his movement, with his talk show, man. He's on the game too, man. He's not the only one, man. I'm not the only one. It's all family here today. But I like what you talked about in the beginning of the interview about how you and your family, even though there could be some disagreements when it comes to politics or whatever, at the end of the day, you're still family. You're still family. And that's important because we live in an environment where it's just a lot of toxic, how can I put this? There's a lot of heaviness, if I can put it that way, of, discussions, because some people don't feel comfortable talking because, if you say one magic word, it's going to spark fireworks. It's almost like in a match where gasoline is poured everywhere on the ground and you just don't want to do that. Touch on that a little bit more, man. Dig into that more, because how do y'all have discussions without beating each other up like WWE?
It's funny that you say that like that, because actually, we've had me and my stepdad, we get into it. We get into it deep, and we've almost before we reminded ourselves of who we are, it almost came to we got to the point where we was just at each other's throats, not physically, but mm-hmm. The fact is that, the funny thing about all this was that my grandmother was the one that was there to remind us. See, my grandfather passed away last year, April 3rd. So she was here. This was not even 2-3 months ago. She was here, and she was the one that she grabbed my arm. She was like, "Hey, what are you doing right now? This isn't how Millers act." And it reminded me immediately. It snapped me back to reality. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, what am I doing? And that's when we take those pauses, and we have a phrase in our family. It's called, we have a phrase that we say that that's not how the Millers act, or that's not how Millers act, or is that something that a Miller would do? Because we take that and we use that mantra as a reminding source of us to let us know what my grandparents has built in a sense of culture. How a company builds a culture?
Yeah.
We built that same type of culture within our family that we can take somebody else's sentiment and integrate it into our own, because we're always ready to accept new information that could possibly change our standpoint. We're never too big to be changed. That's the key. Never too big to be changed, because we've learned a long time ago that politics does not run the household. Mm-hmm. Politics in America is about a lot of shade and about a lot of people trying to be convinced of one side or the other, and that often comes with politicians doing one thing they do well, and that's omitting a lot of facts to make themselves seem right. So we take it upon ourselves to put everything out there. We're very unabashed in our conversations. We put everything out there so that we can see all the facts. And if something comes to light that makes sense, then we integrate that. Me and my uncle do it very well. My uncle Connie, he actually, we have conversations all the time because he challenges me, and I love that. He challenges me and he challenges my truth to make sure it is the truth. And if it's not the truth, then we get to the truth, because so often nowadays you hear this phrase, people say, my truth. Mm-hmm. And truth should not be a subjective thing, you know, or it should not be as objective or subjective. It should not be something that is beholden to one person. Truth is in itself, by definition, universal. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's facts. Facts they're static. They stay facts until the fact changes.
When you have these discussions, because there's so many topics with what's on the news, I mean, you really don't have nothing to run out of to talk about, because it seems like every single day there's a breaking story for another debate at the kitchen table, especially if you have both parties sitting at the table. It's like, oh, don't say nothing. You might start a war in your house. But all jokes aside, when you're having these discussions, are there a lot of times where we get to like a common ground as far as when it comes to values, when it comes to just community? Like how do you find yourself when you have those debates or those heartfelt discussions? How do you get to the common ground?
I'll tell you exactly. And it's a very glaring, obvious thing, but most people wouldn't. If people listen to my radio show, some people would not see this coming from me. But what we do in my family is we remind ourselves that we're black. I mean, not that it has to be reminded, but it's a simple thing. It's like, look, we're black. And not to say that changes a whole lot, but it makes us remind ourselves of the fact that we're not fighting against ourselves. We're never going to mistake politics for a placeholder in our family life. So the second that politics starts to become something that detracts away from our actual people politics, which is our family, then we put it aside and we'll table it, because we will never let politics come in between the love that we have for our family. No matter, because when it comes down to it, policy, we have the ability to shape policy through votes and all that stuff, but the only policy that matters is the policy that we adhere to in our family.
If you're now just tuning in, this is I Am Refocused Radio on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. We're talking to Chris Miller. And man, we're still talking about this family piece, because you were talking about how you find that common ground. Well, as an individual, you also mentioned in the show that you're also an entrepreneur. How do you keep yourself grounded in the entrepreneurship world and showing your values to your clients and just to the community?
Well, you say how do I keep myself grounded?
Yeah,
I guess really through my family, man. My family don't let you get a big head about anything. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you exactly how I stay grounded. So when I started my company, my company, Green Genius Lawn Care, when I started, every single day. All right, let me rewind even further back. So the reason I started was because, I don't know if we talked about this, I had to check the past a little bit. So I had a charge that was against me that now has been dismissed and expunged, or whatever you want to call it. And I couldn't get a job, even though I'm college educated and all that. I couldn't get a job because my background check was coming up, because this stuff was hanging over my head. And the day my son was born, I was working in the club industry. I was doing pretty well for myself, but I looked at him in the face. I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't be out till 4 a.m. every night. Mm-hmm. So I told my wife I was I need to do something else. So we got together, got a truck, got a lawnmower, got a weed eater. And I went out knocking on doors, cutting grass. And that's how it all started. I went out in the heat of the day, every single day. I started printing out flyers that would check boxes saying, hey, this is what your yard needs. I put them on the door, knock on the door if they answered. And I started building my business like that. I started building my book of business. And it just started to grow and grow into the point where I was out in the Dominion. I was the only dude out there, only black dude out there by myself in my own truck. No trailer, just stuff all packed on the back of my truck. Lawnmowers, weed eaters, blowers, shovels, all that stuff. And I was getting bigger accounts. I had 5 houses in Dominion and the Rotunda.
Wow.
And this is all built on just me going out talking to people. I didn't have an internet presence. I barely had these little paper business cards. I was just going out talking, doing my things, chopping it up with people as I met them, because that's how I am. And, it kept me grounded because, one of my first I wouldn't call it big accounts, but big jobs was, I had this whole street off San Pedro where it was all fixed income people. And I decided I wanted to do everybody's house on that street. And I have 10 houses on that street. I did them all for $30 a piece. And some of them, I wouldn't even, I mean, they're on fixed income, and, you know, they're older people. None of them could cut their grass. So some of them, I wouldn't even charge them. I would just do it because nobody else would. But that kept me grounded because I started to realize, you know, what I really wanted to do in life was to help people in whatever way I could, whether it be leading people away from the nonsense or, you know, just providing a helping hand. But I did this, and my business just kept growing to the point where I could hire somebody to go out and do this stuff for me while I just went out and found accounts to get this cracking. And it built to this point where I was just, you know, people would start calling me, and I would just throw this out and then give it to this person, give it to that person, and have them go do it, to where I was getting paid to not really do a whole lot, but put things together. And then, you know, it just blossomed into this beautiful thing where, you know, this the dream that you look for, you know, is that you can pass something on to somebody else, you know, and still making money on it. That's, I mean, if we're being real.
Mm-hmm. That's big.
It kept me grounded because I knew where I came from. I knew that I did all this. I changed that mindset from not being able to have anything to being able to have what you want by going out, being in that hot sun. I'm black as I don't know what, bro, but being out in that sun, the sun is attracted to you. And I was out there every day. I know you light skinned, bro, so you.
Yeah, I stay indoors.
Right? But I was out there cooking, bro, baking. And, you know, it gave me a sense of appreciation for what I built, you know, and the fact that I could share that with other people made it even better.
See, that's what it's all about, man. Like, that's why I had to have you on the show, I'm Refocus Radio, because I'm Refocus means every day you have an opportunity to refocus on your goals, refocus on your target, refocus on your actions, you know, self-evaluation, measure yourself where you are and where you want to be. Like, absolutely. That's what it's about. And it's unfortunate that in today's world, politics pull people apart. It turns people into monsters in other people's eyes. In reality, I think most people, they want common sense. They want to live a decent life. They want to work. Yep. They want to provide for their family. What do you say to that? Like, because it's so interesting that when you talk about your family, because I'm keep going back to your family where y'all have your discussions. Not everyone has the same point of view. Not everybody has the same opinion. How do you keep that open mind where you allow them to say their part and then you say yours?
It comes from, like, man, you got to learn to listen. That's the thing that my grandma taught me. She packs a punch, man. She's one of the toughest women I know. She's battling cancer right now for the 4th time, kicking its butt. She's one that's told me how to be quiet, be still, and listen. It took me 30 some odd years to figure it out, but it's one of those things where if you can sit back and listen instead of trying to, and if you listen, you have to be processing this information instead of trying to be ready to talk. Then the things that you can glean from that it may cause you to be silent, and the silence is where the learning happens. And one of the things that I figured out, especially talking with my family, because we tend to be loud, you know, and it's funny that so many different conversations can be happening all at once, but my grandmother, she can digest every single one of them from a central point in the room, and she would be able to go and talk to each group of people about their knowledgeably about what they were discussing, as if she was in the conversation the entire time. It could be 6, 7 different conversations. I didn't know how she did that until I started to just pay attention and listen and start to, you know, glean that information off of that wisdom. That led me to a new awakening, man. And it helps me and my family when we get to going and chopping it up. We really have this, you know, there's a penchant that we have to, like, we don't. I'd say this: we try not to overtalk each other. Sometimes it happens, but what we end up doing is, and they'll if they were listening right now, they would be quick to tell you that I'm the loudest one of them all. When I get going, man, I get hyped.
You make sure they hear you.
But so what?
I said you make sure they hear you.
Oh yeah. I try to make sure they hear me, but But the fact is that whenever we get to going, if somebody comes out and tells me that I'm wrong, I expect them to prove it. And that's just a part of being in my family. If you don't have facts, then your opinion is not really going to go far. It's not going to travel well in a conversation with my family. Mm-hmm. So we have developed this penchant to stay silent until we have facts. That's why our conversations are so good. Because if we're not talking about facts, then we're just BSing, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine. We have those conversations too when we do that because that's fun. We are a fun family. And not everything's like a hardcore conversation. We don't talk about politics that much, believe it or not. You know, we have a lot of other things going on. But when we do talk about politics, if we don't talk about facts, then we ain't talking about nothing, you know? And that's how we keep it civil in our household because, I mean, man, there's so much misinformation going on around here, and there's so many people out here that are just trying to, that they think they're the most informed, and they have this thing called confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. And they think that everything they read on the internet is confirming what they believe, that they're right. Yet they don't understand that the things that they are reading may not be right to begin with. So a bunch of wrong things, you just say two wrongs will make it right. If you're reading a bunch of wrong things and they're telling you that you're right, that don't make you right. You have to fact check and go back and research the things that you're researching to make sure. And people in my family, we go levels deep. My grandfather, if he was alive, he'd be the one to tell you. With his book, he went levels and levels deep to get to the bottom of Frederick Douglass, to get to the bottom of everything that he puts in there. That's why he made the decision to join the Republican Party in 1962. Mm-hmm. Because he went levels deep to see where the Republican Party started. You know, the Republican Party started with a group of black men in Texas. You know that?
Man, you learn.
Most black people in Texas have I know you know that. Most black people in Texas have no clue whatsoever. So that's why we're in the situation we're in. And that's why my family doesn't fall into that pitfall, because we go levels deep when we do our research and when we try to figure out some things because we don't like to have a discussion where people are calling us out on nonsense because we didn't do our research. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is if I'm wrong about something because I didn't do my research, first of all, I'll be the first one to tell you, man, you're right. Second of all, man, I will beat myself up for days for that. You find me in a library on that little machine that goes back and looks at the old documents.
Yeah,
I'll be on that because I hate being wrong when it comes to stuff that I could have prevented.
Well, once again, if you listen to 9:30 a.m. The Answer, this is I Am Refocused Radio, where your host Shemaya Reed talking to Chris Miller. And man, we got about 3 minutes left, but before we let you go, you thought, having business was fun, but you said I wasn't having enough fun. So you decided to have a show. Like you weren't already busy.
I was going to say I decided. that the decision was forced upon me.
Well, by popular demand, you started your show. What is your goal? All right, what is your goal with the Chris Miller Show I just rhymed. What's your goal with the Chris Miller Show?
What is your goal with the Chris Miller Show? My goal is to enlighten people, and not just enlighten people, but to make people engage their critical thinking processes or re-engage them if they haven't been using them, and to start to go levels deep with their research, levels deep with their want to be informed. I want people to get involved with not just politics, but policy and the things that shape our lives. Mm-hmm. Because as a black man, I know exactly why we're in the situations that we're in now. Before, we had problems that were external. Now we have problems that are internal. I want people to allow themselves to take a look in the mirror and see what exactly is causing the problems that you have. My grandfather always told me that life is an amalgamation of choices. Good or bad, they're your choices. You have to choose to live with them. And right now people aren't choosing to live with their choices, and they're finding themselves in deeper regret and deeper being penalized for choices they make when they think that somebody else is responsible for it. Mm-hmm. I want people to realize that we all have the same skin in the game. We're in this country together. If you're on a sinking boat and you're the only one, I don't want to be the only one scooping water out of this boat. You know,
right. Stop talking and get to working.
That's my major thing.
Yeah.
So what?
I said stop talking and get to working.
Yeah. Dang right, brother.
Man. We got to have you on the show, man, because we don't have enough time, man. We got to have you on the show again because you know what they say, time goes by fast when you're having fun.
You're having fun.
But it's like, we didn't have enough time to put the ice on the stove. It was already water.
It was already water. I like that.
So, man, give a plug. How can people find your show online and when can they hear it?
Oh, wow. So you can get on chrismillershow.com and you can just spell my name right like Todd Sanchez. You can get on my website, chrismillershow.com, and it has all the links, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all my shows are podcasted on my website. Plus, you can see my beautiful face. Now, you can see me on Facebook Live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Tomorrow, I'm going to have Walda Collins on. Matter of fact, she's a fierce woman. She's Miss Veteran USA. She's going to be on tomorrow. Actually, tonight. I'm sorry. Today is Thursday. Wow.
Yeah, man, it's airing on Sunday.
Right? Yeah. And the show, if you're going to catch the show, it'll be on Saturday at 11 p.m. if you're up.
Yep.
At 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
There you go. Well, that's the one and only Chris Miller. And thank you for being on this show talking about what I think is very important. No matter what your affiliation is, the number one thing that is important is family. And don't let anything in this world tear you apart from family, because that's really all you have is your family and values. So at that point, I want to end the show like we always end the show. Keep God first, stay focused, and peace.